Give it a couple minutes. Let me just tell you. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. I'm just trying to hear through the mic. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Can you turn that fan off? I mean, the squeaking is going to do bad on the camera. Door. Who's the name was always king. All right, do what I appreciate it. My son in Christ, Shalom, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh to all the brothers, Yahweh Shemah Bashem Yahweh to all the sisters out there watching. We the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge coming to you live from the Philadelphia School, Philadelphia camp. Once again, today is the Brotherhood class, the Sisterhood class, coming from Philly. Every Tuesday, all across the nation, or at least once a week, all across the nation, all our schools in the I.S.U.P.K, we have what we call the Brotherhood class. The Brotherhood class, which is interchangeable for sisterhood as well. When we talk about brotherhood, when we talk about sisterhood, we're talking about how we should treat one another, how we conceptualize and how we act out love with one another. As we know in the Black community, how we interact with each other, how we treat one another, how we love each other, or our lack of love for each other is a big issue in our community, and it is foundational on how you are going to fix the problems in the Black community. And the I.S.U.P.K in itself is our foundation is brotherhood. Right. We live and die based upon brotherhood, upon sisterhood. We live and die based upon our love for one another. The reason that we will succeed or the reason that we will fail is because we decide to love one another and fight for one another, fight with each other, and follow the Most High, not just because follow the Most High and do the works of a priest and an officer, do the works of a sister trying to assist the men in the school, not just because we believe that God will give us a blessing or that we'll make it to the kingdom of heaven or do anything for our personal lives, but we do it because our brother labors with us, our sisters labor with us, and we would rather die than allow our brothers to war alone, to fight alone, right, without them by our side. So with that, today we're going to get into the importance that it is in the Black community and the Hispanic community to forgive our parents. About a month ago now, many of us know that head priest Ariah passed away. He died probably about a month ago, so 3 weeks ago, right? And around that time, I saw a few videos, no, not even a few, probably saw 1 or 2 videos from Israelite groups about shaming head priest Ariah because this is a brother who is foundational in the I.S.U.P.K, not just in the I.S.U.P.K, but foundational to the whole concept of being a Hebrew Israelite. If you heard that concept, that term, as it is today, that concept is worldwide at this point because of men like head priest, our priest Ariah, men who gave us a foundation for our belief system, and that's just subjective. Whether you believe it's right or wrong, he's the foundation of what we believe in today. Right. Specifically the 12 tribe sign, as far as who is who in modern day times concerning the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Without him, at best, you would have a brother saying that all the brothers who all the men and women who came as slaves in the African diaspora, they're Israelites. but we would not be including any, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Native American Indians, all the other tribes that we gather together with today as brothers. They would not be accepted if not for men like our High Priest Ariel. So my point is saying that he's foundational to our faith. He's foundational to the truth today, us having the truth and knowing who we are as a people, right? But as the brother got older, as he got up in age, he began to falter in his ways, and he made some mistakes. He made some mistakes, and he didn't stand hard in the truth and to what he was taught, to what he was learned, like he should have, right? And he made a mistake in his age that many men do, where they get weak as they become older. Weak not just physically, but weak mentally, as far as accepting things that they know they should, that years ago they would have never accepted, but now they accept it because they're just not all the way there in their mind. And that happened to High Priest Ariel. But even though that happened in the I.S.U.P.K, we know to still honor him, to respect him for his contributions, for what he did for the I.S.U.P.K, for building what we have today. But yet and still, you still have people who just feed to their base nature. Feed to their base nature. And the base nature is, if somebody does something wrong to me, if I don't like something that somebody did, regardless of my relationship to them, I shame them. I try to crush them and compete against them, even though they have a close relationship to me. Even though they're my family, they're my father, they're my mother, even though I have such a close relationship to this person, and I should maintain some level of respect, even in the face of that person's wrongdoings, I decide not to, because because you'll find that it is very easy to hate your brother, your father, your mother, your sister, in some instances, than it is to love them. Hate is natural. Hatred and fighting and war is just built in you as a human being. You don't have to try hard to be violent. You don't have to try hard to hate somebody, to be against somebody. To have a lack of brotherhood or a lack of love, especially in the Black community and the Hispanic community, is very natural for us. And it's what we do often. What we do often. I mean, men did recently when Head Priest Ariel died, and men do it every day. Men and women do it every day in their households when they're dealing with their physical mothers and fathers. And that's what we're going to get into today as far as this class. We're going to get into how in the Black community we need to learn how to forgive our loved ones. Specifically, I'm going to talk about forgiving your parents, forgiving the people that raised you. Because in the Black community, a big thing that we lack, and we all know, is strong parenthood, strong fathers, strong mothers. A lot of the issues that we have in the community, you can point to the lack of rearing of the children. A lot of times, many of us in the Black community have terrible parents, and we all know it. We have terrible parents. It's not a secret. It's not something that we don't already know. We have parents who should not be parents. Parents where CPS should have took the kids, or should take the kids. Like just subjectively, just looking at it without any emotion, just straight up how it is. You shouldn't have lived in the house. You should have been in an orphanage. There's mothers and fathers out there that's raising kids, and they should not have those children. Somebody else should be raising those children, because they fight in front of the children, because they're getting high in front of the children. Some of them are molesting the kids. Some of them are allowing the kids to get molested. That's probably even more common. Just allowing, say, your child to be molested instead of confronting that nasty uncle you got, or confronting that sibling you have that you full blown well know is molesting your child and harming your child, but you sweep it under the rug because that's the easier thing to do. It's the easier thing to do, so you sweep it under the rug instead of protecting your children, raising your children. In the city of Philadelphia right now, we have big issues with crime, all throughout the city. A lot of these crimes are committed by people that are very young. It ain't a whole lot of 45-year-olds out here doing carjackings and vandalizing the Wawa and getting in shootouts. And many of these people are very young, minors, many of them, and that becomes from a lack of parenting. I think back in the day they had the commercial, or they might still have it today, In some cities, they have commercials that come up on the news. It might come on like 9 p.m. and they say, "Do you know where your kids are?" 10 p.m. come up on the screen. Do you know where your kids are? Because that's a message to all the parents who don't know how to raise their kids. You don't know where the hell your kids are right now. And it's 10 p.m. You don't have no idea where your kids is at. They out running the streets doing God knows what, and you sitting on the couch watching the news and they have no idea where your kids are because they on them streets terrorizing everybody, having sex with anything that breathes. That's what they're doing. It's obvious in the black community that we have an issue with parenting and having terrible parents. And many people in the black community grow up to hate their parents. But we cannot improve as a people unless we begin to forgive our parents for their wrongdoings. Forgive our parents for their wrongdoings. Find a way to reconcile with our parents instead of hating them. First, we're going to get where I want to go to first. Let me get I guess 1 Timothy 5:1. The most common reason you often hear about, at least, that people hate their parents, specifically their father, often is having an absent father, having a father that you believe didn't do enough for you. He wasn't with your mom. You and your father and your mom, they might have breaking up when you were very young. That's typically what happens. Your mom got pregnant at a certain time. Your father might have stuck around, maybe for the first year or two of your life, but eventually the stress of life and the stress of raising a child and the stress of just having a long-term relationship weighs down on your parents, and they break up. They break up often in this country. The mom gets custody of the kids. And once the mom gets custody of the kids, the father is left at a disadvantage, often not being able to see the kids as much. We all heard the story. The story of broken homes in America and in the black community. And that's often the reason why people men and women in the black community hate their fathers. Hate their father because they lived in a house with only their mother, who could tell them whatever they wanted to about their father, and their father had little power to do anything about it. You have fathers that went to prison. They went to prison, got locked up, had no choice but to not raise their kids because they was in jail. And we have many fathers who at the very least, we can agree didn't do the ideal job as a father. It wasn't like on TV with a white picket fence and a family and a dog. Your father may have not done or may have not been able to do as much for you as you hoped, so you grow up to resent your father. You act like Will Smith in that show where he crying to Uncle Phil about how his dad never loved him, dad never liked him. And we all know all the reasons why these things, why black men may take that path. But regardless of why, we have to worry about what's currently happening right now. Right now, many of us come from broken homes, fatherless homes, and we have to learn to forgive our fathers if you ever want to repair as a people. Read that.
Come. It's the book of 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 1. Rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father.
Rebuke not an elder. Don't rebuke your elder. Don't punish him. Read from the top.
Come. Rebuke not an elder.
An elder, meaning somebody. And this scripture isn't just talking about somebody. It's not just talking about specifically your father, your parent, but there's somebody who's older than you, or in the I.S.U.P.K specifically, somebody who has a higher rank than you. Somebody who has a certain level, a natural level of authority over you, right? Read from the top again.
Come. Rebuke not an elder.
Rebuke not an elder. Don't check or criticize or harshly correct an elder. Somebody that's above you, they may be doing something that's wrong. Just because somebody's older than you doesn't mean that they're better than you. Doesn't mean that they're perfect, but they do have a natural level of authority above you that you are commanded to respect. And so if your father or your mother has done something to you that you don't like, or hasn't raised you in a way that you felt you shouldn't be having raised. Maybe you thought your father should have I don't know, went to your football games when you was growing up. He should have bought you more toys. I don't know, but whatever issues you have with your parents as a grown person, you cannot harshly correct them. That's not going to solve the issue. Often when a child, regardless of their age at the time, when a child tries to harshly correct their parents, the parents often are defensive because it's just a natural way to feel when your child is correcting you. It's typically hard to have the level of humility to get harshly checked and chastised, cussed out, called a deadbeat, told you ain't shit, you was never there for me, yada yada yada, and not have any pushback, if you understand, because you're the child, and on a certain level, you should have a certain level of respect for your father, for your mother, regardless of what they may have did or not done for you. So read it from the top again.
Oh God, rebuke not an elder.
Rebuke not your elder. You're never going to get your father to do anything or to understand you, or your mother to understand you by calling them deadbeats, abusive, telling them that they ain't shit. Excuse my French. Telling them they was never there for you. They hated they hated you as you were growing up. They never wanted you to succeed. Blah blah blah. Harshly correcting your parents will not work. But what may work? What may be on the pathway of healing and allowing y'all people to have a better relationship. Read on.
But entreat him as a father.
But entreat him. Entreat him. Let me read that definition of that word so I can give it to you all the way right. Entreat him as a father. I'll read it for you. I'll read it. Entreat. Ask someone earnestly or anxiously to do something. So to ask someone kindly, respectfully, and earnestly, more meaning like passionately. That's the best way I can describe it. Or just lay it down plain what you want from this person respectfully, and entreat them as a father. Meaning your father, once again, your father, you don't just check him and correct him. But you don't. But that doesn't mean you just have to be quiet and never say anything wrong about what your father may be doing or your mother may be doing. There's a way to go to a father, go to an elder, in a way that's respectful and to where you can honestly convey and clearly convey what they did wrong to you and how it may have harmed you as a child, harmed you growing up. There's a way to tell your mother how she damaged you by the way she talked to you and spoke to you when you were a child. It's a way to peacefully convey to your father how they harmed you by not being around and not going to the football game and not buying toys and not treating them like he did his other family. It's a way to go to them and speak to them in a way where they can take it in and decide to do the right thing or the wrong thing, to decide to apologize or just find more excuses for what they did wrong. And you brothers and sisters often may have to get counsel, but in general, you go to somebody and you go to them respectfully. You don't say, "Yeah, you wasn't ever there for me. You ain't nothing. You ain't never gonna be nothing. I can't believe. I wish God gave me another father because you ain't nothing. You ain't my father. You ain't my mother. You ain't nothing to me." You shouldn't say things like that. You should say things more like, "Mom, Dad, Father, how you talk to your parents. These things that happened in the past, I believe they harmed me. These things in the past, I believe I may have been a better person if they didn't happen to me. And I was really like if you would apologize, or we could find a way to mend our relationship after all the wrongdoings." Talking in that type of way in general is gonna be way better, a way better recourse, a way better solution in trying to mend your relationship with your father, if that's what you want. If that's what you want. A lot of us, we don't want to mend the relationships. We don't want to mend relationships. We don't want to forgive somebody. We just want to punish them and bring revenge on them for what they did to us.
Right.
But once again, this brotherhood class is ultimately about how we should treat each other as Black people, as Hispanics, and as Native Indians. And we cannot get anywhere as a people by just simply putting revenge against each other. But by avenging and again get back over all the things that happened to us as a people. If not, it will never end. We have an endless cycle of violence, an endless cycle of fatherless homes, an endless cycle of domineering and overbearing mothers. These things will never end because we will never find a way to put away the wrongdoings and forgive our families, forgive our own brothers and sisters, our own mothers and fathers. We have to be willing to forgive, at least be willing to forgive each other, at least be willing to mend our relationships if we want to actually succeed as a people. All right, let me get on. That was Ecclesiastes. What was that? First, that was Timothy. Now let me get on.
Did you already break down
No, you good.
break down the rest of that one?
You can read on. You can, or you read from the top. Keep reading.
Rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father, and the younger men as brethren. You already broke that down already.
Yeah, as the younger men as brothers. This is off the top of what I break it down. The younger men as brothers, meaning if somebody, the first one is talking about how do you correct an elder. The other one is talking about how you correct somebody who may be younger than you, or maybe like somebody you would consider a peer or somebody equal to you. And you would talk to a brother, maybe not with the same level of I don't say respect, but the same level of reverence that you would a father. But that still doesn't. You still don't treat your brother like an enemy either. So when you're trying to correct somebody that's you consider a peer or maybe even somebody below you, you may have a little more. You might have more liberty with your words, but you still come to them in a way that they can receive it, however that may be given in a given situation. But the way that you would go to a brother and tell him, man, you need to get right, or man, we need to work this out for you, we need to figure out how we can fix this because you really having an issue. The same way you would go to your brother or a sibling to fix an issue that they may be having. That's how you correct somebody who's your peer or your brother, your sister, somebody that you consider an equal. Still, you don't want to necessarily crush them if they are your brother, if they are your sister, but you want to go to them in a way where they can receive it, even though y'all are technically equal. All right, that's it on that. Let me get Matthew 6:14.
Come. It's the book of Matthew, chapter 6 and verse 14. For if ye forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you.
If ye forgive men your trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. And this theme of forgiveness, in the New Testament, is pivotal to what Christ came to teach us. Christ came to teach us how to love one another. In essence, that's what, if you could boil it down to a sentence or two, that's what it all is about. Christ came to not only save us from our personal wrongdoings and save us as a nation for our sins against the Most High, but to unite us back together. In order to unite back together, we have to learn how to forgive one another. Read that again.
Come on. For if ye forgive men their trespasses.
If you forgive men their trespasses. So if you forgive a man for the wrongdoing or the sin or the crime that a man has done against you. Read on.
Your heavenly Father will also forgive you.
The Most High will also forgive you. We all want to be forgiven, correct?
Right.
We all know that we may have done things, made mistakes, sinned, done wrong, harmed other people in our lives. And we all want to be forgiven for those things. Nobody, most people don't want to be punished. Most people don't want to die. Most people don't want to just suffer and die for all their past wrongdoings. You want to find a way that God will forgive you for all them drugs you was doing. God will forgive you for all them hoes you was having sex with. God will forgive you for somebody that you may have murdered or harmed, for that money you stole, for the people that you backstabbed, for the friends that you lost because you were a terrible person.
Right.
You want to be forgiven for all those things, but you won't be forgiven unless you will forgive others that trespass against you. You can't expect for the Most High to forgive you if you don't forgive others. You can't expect the Most High to forgive you if you can't forgive your father for not being around. You can't forgive your mother for harming you, for putting you up for being a drug addict and throwing you away, putting you up for adoption, taking you to the foster care because she was inept and couldn't take care of you. Mm-hmm. You have to forgive your parents for these things if you expect to be forgiven. Because many people, when somebody offends them, parent or not, when somebody offends them or something does something wrong to them, they want that person to just die and perish, and because you were personally offended, you believe the person that did something to you, they should just be obliterated off the face of the earth and forgotten and never forgiven ever again. But you don't think the same thing about yourself.
Right.
You don't think the same thing about yourself. Yeah, your father was bad, but that doesn't mean I'm sure you did some bad things in your life. I'm sure you made some mistakes. I'm sure you did some things that you regret. Just like your father regrets the decisions he made with you, your mother regrets the decision she made with you. We all have regrets, do we not? And we want to be forgiven for those things that we did that we regret. How can we expect? How can we also wish death and destruction against somebody who has offended us? When we also offend people, when we also do things that we should not be doing. That same level of forgiveness that you want the Most High to bestow upon you and wipe away all your sins and join you, give that level of forgiveness to your father. Give that level of forgiveness to your mother, and that's how you'll find forgiveness from the Most High. That's how the Most High will favor you, because you are deciding to put down your wrath, your anger, in order to gain your father, gain your mother, and build a better and more secure nation where we can succeed because we love each other, because we forgive one another. Read verse 15.
Come on. Verse 15, it's the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 15. But if ye forgive not men their trespasses, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses. But
if you refuse to forgive your father, refuse to put down what happened in the past, the Most High will not forgive you. The Most High will punish you for all the things that you want to be forgiven for, all the things that you want to overcome. If you decide to keep on holding your grudge against your own family. All right, we can drop that. Give me that one next. Give me that was Matthew. Give me Luke 6:37. It's kind of the same topic.
Okay.
And many of us, like I was saying before, it's a cycle. So many of us, you not only hate your parents for what they did to you, but you blame them for all the mistakes that you made. So you weren't raised right, so that's why you get high. You had a broken home, so that's why you don't know how to deal with your woman or deal with your man, and that's why your home was broken up, and you ain't raising your kids right, because you are using the offense of your father, the offense of your mother, in order to justify all the wrongdoings in your life, right, instead of putting all the offenses and all the things that your parents did behind you. Instead of doing that, you decide put it behind you and find a different way to live. Instead of doing that, you decide to hold on to those things and use them as excuses as to why you get high, excuses why you don't know how to have a stable relationship with a woman or a stable relationship with a man, because you didn't see it growing up. You using all these excuses as to why you are such a terrible failure of a human being. Instead of deciding to forgive your parents and become somebody new, become somebody who was raised who wasn't put up for adoption, who wasn't raised in a broken home, somebody who wasn't molested, somebody who wasn't destroyed, somebody who can build a foundation other than what you were given in this life, and that's what we offer in I.S.U.P.K. That is what Christ is offering to you, for you to become a new person, and you have to become that new person if you ever want to truly forgive your mother, your father. You have to overcome that. In order you have to do that in order to forgive your parents. But you ain't gonna get nowhere by holding on to all the pain throughout your life. All that would do is give you good excuses to continue to fail as a person, to continue to fail and blame your parents for it instead of one day just standing up, one day growing up as a grown person and deciding that I am accountable for my decisions. I decide to get high. I decide to be violent. I decide to raise my kids or not. I decide to stay in school, to get a good job. I decide to do these things instead of always blaming somebody else, blaming the people that raised you. How long are you going to blame them when you're a fully grown person that knows all the rights that was right, was wrong, knows the repercussions for their actions? Eventually, you have to forgive your parents so you can put that away and stop using them as an excuse to be a failure. All right, read that.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 37. Judge not, and ye shall not be judged.
Judge not, and ye shall not be judged. Now, what does it mean to judge? Judging or judging somebody is a term that's often used in just, I guess, everyday, I wouldn't even say American culture, just everyday life. Everyday life in everyday life we hear the term to judge somebody. One second, I'm going to read the scripture.
Yeah, because I want a lot of Christians bring this up.
Right, a lot of
and they don't even finish the whole scripture as well. They just use the first one where it says, "Judge not, and ye shall not be judged."
Right. A lot of Christians, you'll hear them. If you ever criticize a Christian, meaning you say, "Yeah, you can't be gay like that. Being gay is wrong in the Bible, wrong according to the Bible." They'll say, "You don't judge me. You can't judge me. Who are you to judge? You're not God." Right. And they'll say that, and this is a scripture, one of the scriptures that is used to justify that line of thinking, that nobody can, because other people don't have the authority to judge you. They can never criticize or say something against your lifestyle or really tell you that you're doing something wrong. Is what it boils down to, and that's judging. Everybody believes that just simply saying, "Oh, that thing that you're doing is incorrect. You shouldn't be doing that. That's the wrong way to live." People say that doing that in itself is to judge, but to understand what judging actually is, all you have to do is ask yourself is, what does a judge do? Like a judge, like in everyday life, in America, in every country, every stable country that has a government and a criminal justice system, somebody that's sitting up on the stand, sitting up on the bench, over top of a courtroom, what does that judge do? Does the judge just tell people they're wrong? The judge might do that, but is that all they do? Is the judges, when you get locked up and you go in front of the judge say, "You was wrong for selling them drugs. Now get out of my courtroom. You was wrong for killing them people. Now get out of here." The judge ain't just serving out checkings. The judge ain't just waving his finger at you and telling you how you wrong for doing all you do. The judge tells you what you did wrong and charges you and sentences you. The judge punishes you. That's why he's a judge. He judges matters. The judge has the power to punish people, to forgive them, to let them free. But ultimately, his main power is to punish you. When you go to jail for murder, the judge decides your sentence, and he is judging you. He's correcting you for that murder. He's correcting you for that crime. That's what a judge is, and that's what it means to judge, to punish somebody. Judging is not just talking. It's not just saying that somebody did something wrong. That's just you can call it, criticism, criticizing somebody, but you can't call it judging, because if not, everybody would have the same power that a judge does in a courtroom, which they do not. So with that in mind, let's read that scripture again. Luke 6:37.
It's the book of Luke, chapter 6, verse 37. Judge not, and ye shall not be judged.
Judge not, and read again. I'm sorry.
Judge not, and ye shall not be judged.
Judge not, and ye shall not be judged. If you don't punish somebody, if you don't punish your father, punish your mother for their wrongdoings against you, you will not be punished for the wrongdoings that you have done. So don't go out your way to punish your parents. Punish the people who, and all the time when we say the people, we're talking about all these Christians. We're talking about how black people should interact with each other, how black people, how Hispanics should interact with each other. We should not punish each other unless we expect to be judged for all the wrongdoings that we have committed. Don't punish your parents. Don't punish them for the things you did in the past. Many people get in actual physical fights with their parents. It ain't just words. You get the whooping your dad's ass, busting him upside the head, an old man. Somebody said, as soon as you get up in age to do it, as soon as you get about I guess it depends on the person, but as soon as you get a good 19, you feel like you can take your dad now, right, and you're gonna whoop his ass because he used to tear you up with that belt for until you was 16. From birth to 16, you was getting your ass whooped. Right. So when you get 18, when you get 18, 19, 20 years old, you feel like you big and strong now, and you can whoop your dad's ass. Don't punish your dad. Don't punish your mother. Don't try to hurt them the way that you believe they have hurt you, unless you think that you should be punished for all the things that you did. Because yeah, I'm sure your parents were terrible, but what about you? Did you just do everything right? Did you just make every right decision, do everything correctly? Did you make some mistakes? Did you do some things that you regret doing, that you wish you never did? I'm sure you do, and you don't want to be punished for that. You don't want to be harmed for that. Don't harm your parents for the wrongdoings. Don't take revenge on your parents. Don't judge them. Don't punish them for the things they did against you. Read on.
Condemn not, and ye shall not be condemned. Forgive, and ye shall be forgiven.
Don't judge. Don't condemn them. Don't punish them. Don't harm them. Don't get revenge against them. If you forgive them, if you decide to not punish them, you will be forgiven. You won't be punished for the sin you have committed. And when I say you won't be punished, I'm talking about specifically by the Most High, by God. If you decide to be forgiving, the Most High will forgive you. If you decide to forgive others, He won't curse you and punish you and make your life even more hell because you are somebody who's unforgiving and vengeful and destructive to anybody around them. Read on.
Verse 38. Give, and it shall be given unto you.
Give, and it shall be given unto you. Give. Don't be greedy. Be willing to give to your parents. Give to your loved ones. Read on.
Give unto you good measure, pressed down and shaken together, and running over. Give
measure in a measured way correctly and run it over. Give too much. Give excessively. Read on.
And running over shall men give into your bosom.
So I'm sorry. So essentially, if you give, if you are giving, if you forgiving, men will do the same to you. Men will give back to you, and they'll give excessively. They'll give overwhelmingly into your hand and into your chest or to you, because you decided to be given to others. That's the blessing the Most High is willing to give a man, that is forgiving, that is giving to those around him. Read on.
For with the same measure that ye meet, withal it shall be measured to you again.
So the same measure that you measure, the same measure that you measure will be measured unto you. So the same thing that you gave out, you'll be given. What's the phrase they say? What goes around comes around. What they say? You get what you put into it. It's a common phrase people say. So the level of giving and forgiveness that you give out to others, that will be bestowed upon you, and you'll be blessed by the Most High because you decided to have control and not destroy those that may deserve to be destroyed, may have harmed you, but you decide to change things. You decide to end the cycle and forgive, so we can become a unified nation. Now let me get on Ephesians 4:32.
The book of Ephesians, chapter 4, verse 32. And be ye kind one to another, tenderhearted.
Be kind to one another. We can all understand that. Be kind. Be nice to somebody. Don't be an a-hole. Read from the top again.
Kind. And be ye kind one to another, tenderhearted.
Tenderhearted. What does it mean to be tenderhearted? To understand tenderhearted, you got to understand what it means to be hard-hearted. To have a cold heart, a hard heart. Somebody that's hard-hearted or has a cold heart is somebody who is unwilling to love, unwilling to give, unwilling to trust somebody, unwilling to accept those that may have trespassed against them, unwilling to do all the things we've been talking about in this class, which is to put wrongdoings behind them. And that they are you just somebody that's that's cold and callous and irritable, just not willing to interact with people in a way where you can receive them and they can receive you. You just shun everyone because you are you fear, or you fear of being rejected, you fear of being harmed, instead of being tenderhearted, kind to those around you, so everyone can accept each other and love one another. Read on.
Forgiving one another.
Read on.
Even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you.
Even as God for Christ's sake hath forgiven you. God, the Most High, He gave up Christ. He gave up Christ to a man that was perfect, a man that didn't make mistakes, a man that didn't sin against the Most High, a man that didn't, take revenge against his parents, a man that didn't get high, a man that didn't have all types of lewd sex, a man that didn't feed into all the weaknesses that this world has to offer. This man was perfect. He died for us. Wow. He died for people who deserve to die. He died for people who should be put in the grave, who really shouldn't be forgiven, So being that Christ, a perfect man, decided to die for all of us and to forgive and to die for all of us so we could all be forgiven, it is up to us now to in the spirit of Christ, and His vibe and in His way, to forgive one another the way the Most High forgave us, the way the Most High gave up His perfect servant for us and decided to forgive us. We should follow that example and forgive each other. Christ, let me get on. Exodus 20:12. Let me get Exodus 20:12. Before that, give me no, that's right. Exodus 20:12.
Come on. The book of Exodus, chapter 20, and verse 12.
It's like before, what I was about to say is Christ. Christ didn't die. Christ didn't die. Our King didn't die and give His life, so we can just continue to judge one another. So we can just continue to harm each other. because all these things that we reading about from Christ and in the New Testament is because they were going on in that day, and they're very similar to the times we live in now, where people hate their father, they hate their mother, they hate each other. People have a hard time interacting with each other without falling out, even outside of the family dynamic. Just friends in the Black community, friends, men and women. We have a hard time in actually loving each other, trusting anybody. Nowadays, that's all the rappers is talking about. How you can't trust nobody. You gotta, what they say, you gotta keep the grass. What they say, you gotta keep the grass cut low to watch out for the snakes. Whatever the hell they be saying. You got the whole thing is that nobody really trusts each other. They say I keep my circle tight. I keep my circle small. I don't let a lot of people around me because I don't trust nobody. And that's a big theme in the Black community where we just don't trust each other. We go out and do things and try to have a good time, but there's always this general idea that if you're a stranger, I don't trust you. There's only so much commonality amongst Black people. We all kind of know that we don't really trust each other that much, but we just want to be around each other. And those type of things went on even in Christ's time, even all throughout human history. People have had this issue. Christ came so we can do away with that lack of trust, do away with that hatred, do away with the one to seek revenge against each other, become new people that can be trusted, new people who can be trusted, who can be forgiven. And if we all decide to become new people, if we all decide to change our ways, and if we all decide to forgive those that have harmed us, we can repair as a people. If not, what it's going to be an endless cycle of violence, endless cycle of revenge, and that's what you have in the Black community. That's what all these murders is. All the murders in Chicago we was hearing about, all those are revenge killings. All of that's going on because a kid 10 years ago died. Somebody in high school died 10 years ago in 2012 or something. So now all the way in 2023, you got people killing over somebody that died 10, 20 years ago. Right. That's what you have, not just in Chicago, all over the Black community. Just a bunch of revenge killings. One person died in a neighborhood, or one person died on one block, and now the city got to burn for years because we're all trying to get revenge for our cousin, get revenge for our father, get revenge for our brother. I understand why brothers do that. I would feel the same way if my father was killed, or my brother, or my cousin, or somebody close to me was murdered in that way. But in order to stop the violence, in order to be done with it, we have to be willing to enforce love, enforce our brotherhood. We have to be willing to enforce forgiveness in our community when we eventually put those sins away, put those wrongdoings away, and we all become new people. If not, we'll just all kill each other because we can never get over the wrongdoings that the other person did. All right, let me get Oh, you read that. I already pulled it. Give me what's that
It's the book of Exodus, chapter 20, and verse 12. Honor thy father and thy mother.
Honor thy father and thy mother. This is a scripture you kind of hear semi-regularly out in the world. Read it again.
Honor thy father and thy mother.
Honor thy father and thy mother. Now, what does this mean? Now, honor in itself just means, and my honor in this context would mean just to give a high level of respect, a high level of reverence to, correct? Often, but this is what it does not mean. What it doesn't mean is to do every single thing that comes out your parents' mouth. And I think often when it's pulled, at least in the world, that's what people, for whatever reason, internalize it as. Probably because, Christian moms pulled it to get their kids to act right. But it doesn't mean to just do anything your parents say, because that was the case. Your parents could tell you to get high, and you would have to do it. If that's what honoring your mother and father, your parents means. Your parents can go tell you to murder, you would have to go do it. Of course, it doesn't mean that, but it means to give a level of respect, a level of honor, a level of praise to your parents. Read it from the top.
Honor thy father and thy mother.
Mm-hmm.
that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee.
Honor thy father and thy mother, meaning honor, praise them, take care of your parents in their old age. Not just obey them, but to take care of them, praise them, and if you do this, you will be blessed. Your land will be blessed. We as a people will be blessed if we decide to cherish our parents. If we decide to aid them in their need, aid them as they get old. And we're gonna get into it next. Also, a lot of us as parents get older. As your parents get older, that's when you really begin to, praise and worship their downfall. That's when you really begin to enact your revenge on them, because they're not strong like they used to. They can't talk the same way. They can't move the same way. They're weaker now. They're in a situation where they may need you. And many times because you're a resentment for your parents, even in their old age, you can't forgive them. Even while they're old in a retirement home somewhere, can barely walk, can't even use the bathroom by themselves. You still resent them. You still harm them. You still neglect them, even in their old age, because you hold it on to the resentment you have for them and trying to exact vengeance. Don't do that. Honor your parents. Honor them. Take care of them in their old age. Take care of them and forgive them in their old age. Now let me get Ecclesiasticus 3 and 10. In the Apocrypha, I believe.
It's the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 3 and verse 10. Glory not in the dishonor of thy father.
Glory not in the dishonor of thy father. If your father is dishonorable, if your father does something wrong, if your father disobeys the Most High, if your father is weak, if your father is a drug addict, if your father dies a tragic death, if your father is sick and destroyed, don't glory in that. Oh yeah, let's clap it up for my dad dying. Let's clap it up for him being a drug addict. Let's clap it up for him being in the hospital sick. Let's clap it up for him having cancer, because he wasn't never shit no way. He ain't never raised me right. He ain't never did nothing for me. So let's praise him. Let's praise and thank God that my father is on his way out. That my mother is finally getting her payback for all that she did to me. Don't glory, in the dishonor of your father. Don't do that. Why shouldn't you do that? Logically, according to the scriptures, why does it make no sense to glory in the dishonor of your father?
For thy father's dishonor is no glory unto thee.
For thy father's dishonor is no glory unto thee. There's no reason to glory in the downfall of your father, of your parents, because there's no reason to gloat over the fact that how terrible of people they are. Because if your father is terrible, if your father never amounted to anything, what does that mean about you? You're talking about the person that you came from, the person that you have, that you owe other than the Most High, other than God, the person that you owe your life to, your existence to. So if he ain't shit, what does that mean? What does that mean about you? That means you come from nothing. You come from you come from a crackhead and a terrible person and somebody who never amounted to anything. That's where you come from. If that's what your parents are, if that's what your father is, so why would you glory in their destruction? Why would you glory in their flaws, being that you come from them? So if they're flawed, what the hell does that say about you? What does that say about where you'll end up? If the only example you have is somebody who's terrible and flawed and never amounted to anything, well, I guess you may end up the same way. Don't glory in the dishonor of your father, because their dishonor is not a glory unto you. Really meaning it doesn't give you any glory. It doesn't give you any benefit to see your parents destroyed or to see them dishonored. Read on.
For the glory of a man is from the honor of his father.
From the glory of a man is from the honor of his father. Well, I know that you're great, or I know that you can become great because your father is. Isn't that what people say? They say, you got big shoes to fill. If your parents, were somebody special, or people have high hopes for you because your father was a football star, or because your mother, was an actress. And if your parents did something special in their life, once those parents have kids, once they have you, people will look at you with a certain level of honor, a certain level of respect, because you come from good stock. You got a good pedigree.
Right.
You come from honorable people, so people give that same honor to you because you have the at least the potential to do the same things your parents did. So really, you shouldn't be. It's not a good thing if your parents didn't amount to anything, because what does that say about you? It says you'll end up the same way. Read on.
And a mother in dishonor is a reproach to the children.
Read on.
My son, help thy father in his age, and grieve him not as long as he liveth.
Read one more time, Shalaka.
Come, my son, help thy father in his age.
Help your father in his age. What does it mean in his age? Meaning as your father gets old, as he gets up in age, where he can't, specifically I'm talking about when he can't operate, when he can't, walk and get up the same way he used to, when he can't be as independent, especially physically or mentally as they used to. Some parents, some people get older, they get Alzheimer's, they forget things, or Alzheimer's or dementia. They can't remember things. They can't remember things. They can't, they can't talk the same way they used to. So they can't go to work. They can't support themselves. They can't. Some people, they get older. Their body get bad. Their joints they get arthritis. They can't walk like they used to. They can't run up and down them steps like they used to. They can't pick up things and lift and put things down the way they used to. They need help. They need help in order to live have a good life. Now they can't just do it independently. In your father's age, in your mother's age, take care of them. Take care of them. Honor them, and help them in their age. Don't just let them perish. Don't just throw them away and not care about them. Do something for them in their old age. Help them in their old age. Read on. Read from the top of verse 12.
My son, help thy father in his age, and grieve him not as long as he liveth.
And grieve him not as long as he liveth. Don't grieve your father, meaning don't like, what's the word I'm looking for? Don't grieve for is probably the simple way to put it. Don't grieve for them, or don't, like, what do people do when don't mourn for them? I'm sorry. Don't mourn for them while they're alive. While they're alive, don't just grieve for them and mourn for them and feel sorry for them. Or feel sorry for them. In those times, be strong for them in a sense and take care of them. Don't just sit around and cry because they're suffering and they're not who they used to be. Don't sit around and just be a puddle of tears because your mother doesn't remember who you are, or doesn't know your name anymore, or doesn't recognize you because she has dementia, or your father can't walk up the steps anymore because they're so old, or somebody they get sick and they're in the hospital. Don't just be a puddle of tears. Help them in that time. Be strong for them in their time because they're not strong. And a lot of times that's what people do when your parents get old, because especially when you're dealing with like dementia and things like that, because you really are so sad about the condition of your parents, you don't help them, not because you don't want to, but because you can't suffer to look at them. It's so sad to even look at them. You just don't even take care of the motherfucker because you just can't suffer to look at them. Don't do that. Don't do that. Be strong for your parents in their age. Be strong for your father in their age. Take care of them. Read on.
Come. And if his understanding fail, Have patience with him.
If his understanding fails, if he can't remember things like he used to, if he can't, if he can't remember who people are and where he's at, if he doesn't have the same quickness of mind like he used to, be patient. Be patient. Don't just, don't become impatient. Don't rebuke him. Don't punish him because he can't remember like he used to. Because he's not as smart, not as swift as he used to be. Read on.
Come. And despise him not when thou, and despise him not when thou art in thy full strength.
And like this is what I was bringing out before. When you in your full strength and your parents are in that weaker state, don't despise them. Because right now you're in your prime. You're 30 years old. You're 30. So you got your full man strength. You can run as fast as you're ever going to be able to run. You're as strong as you're ever going to be. But your parents, they're in their 60s. They can't. They don't have the same level of understanding that they used to. They're not as swift as they used to be. And you being big and strong, you look down at your parents now. You despise them because they can't run with you, because they don't have the same aptitude as you. You just despise them and look down on them because you're in your full strength. Don't do that. Don't despise your parents because you're in your full strength, because you're at your full level of capability. Because one day, sooner or later, you'll be where they are. You'll be weak. You won't remember things. Your mind won't work as well as you want it to, and you'll need somebody to help you. So be that help for your parents, and don't despise them because you're in your full strength. You have all that you need, and they need something from you. Read on.
Come. Verse 14, for the relieving of thy father shall not be forgotten.
For the relieving of thy father shall not be forgotten. This means that for the help that you gave to your parents, the help that you decide to give to your father, you forgiving your father, the Most High, he's not going to forget that. The Most High is going to remember when you decide to pick your father up, pick your mother up in their down times, to help them in their old age. The Most High is going to remember that. That's not going to be forgotten. Read on.
Come. And instead of sins, it shall be added to build thee up. Instead of sins,
instead of disobeying the Most High and disobeying God and harming your parents, and sin being added unto you, you will be built. You will be built up. You'll be relieved. You'll be helped in your time of need. Read on.
In the day of thine affliction, it shall be remembered.
In the day that you need help, in the day that you're old, in the day that you can't remember, maybe if you do the right thing, your children will be there for you. Somebody will be there for you to help you when you're down and out and when you need help. Read on.
Thy sins also shall melt away.
And you will be forgiven for your wrongdoings. You'll be forgiven for your wrongdoings if you decide to help your parents and forgive them. Forgive them and help them in their old age. Read on.
As the ice in the fair warm weather.
As the ice in the fair warm weather. Just like ice does after a long time, as the sun starts to come out and that ice starts to melt away into a puddle of water, that's how the Most High is going to melt your sins away if you decide to help your parents, if you decide to forgive them, if you decide to help them in their old age. Read on.
Verse 16, he that forsaketh his father is as a blasphemer.
If you forsake your father, if you forget your father, if they get old and you say forget him, I don't care about him. He didn't help me when I was young. He wasn't around when I was young. So I'm going to forget my father, forget him. If you forsake your father, forsake your parents, you're like a blasphemer. It's like speaking against the Most High. It's like talking against the Most High. It's like going against God when you decide to go against your father. And examples like this are all throughout the Bible. All throughout the Bible, we are punished because of how we decide to treat one another. And once again, these things are foundational to this truth, foundational to everything we teach in the I.S.U.P.K. We live and die off of scriptures like this. We live and die off of knowing that if I don't treat my brother properly, if I don't treat my father properly, if I don't treat my people the way I should treat them, I will be destroyed. It'll be treated like an act against God, which it is. Read it from the top again.
Come. He that forsaketh his father is as a blasphemer, and he that angereth his mother is cursed.
So when you harm your parents, in a nutshell, when you harm your parents, when you're going against your fathers, your mothers, you are going against the Most High. You're going against God when you decide to exact vengeance on them or not care for them specifically in their old age. And we have to learn to forgive our parents, regardless of the things they may have done in our past. So, like I said, in general, to build a more secure nation. Now, let me get the last time I get is Ephesians 6:4. Ephesians 6:4. That's going to be my last one. But once again, all these things are so that we can build a stronger community in the Black, Hispanic, and Native American community. And a lot of it starts on us forgiving one another. A lot of the things that you see going wrong in the Black community happen because we refuse to forgive. Like I said in the beginning of the class, it's very hard to forgive. It's easy to harm. It's easy to get revenge. That's what you naturally want to do. It's easy to destroy somebody. What's harder is to forgive them, is to help them, is to love them, especially in the face of an offense. Especially if you feel like you're wrong. In many cases, for many people, it's pretty much impossible for them to ever forgive anybody that ever did anything bad, anything wrong to them. And those type of people will perish at the hands of the Most High. Those type of people will get left behind once the Black community decides to forgive each other, to love one another. The people that love to hold on to grudges, those people will perish, and they can't be blessed by the Most High because they refuse to bless others. They can't be forgiven by the Most High because they forgive to forgive others. They refuse to forgive others. I'll give that Ephesians 6:4.
Come. It's the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 4. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath.
You fathers, don't provoke your children to wrath. Read it again.
Come. Ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath.
Read on.
But bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord.
Bring them in the nurturing and that word. How say it again?
Admonition.
Admonition. I believe it means like in the instruction of the Most High. Read it from the top one more time. So like,
come. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath.
Provoke not your children to wrath. Now, with all that said, for the past hour, I talked about how we as children, or we as children, should forgive our parents. When it comes, but also on the flip side, in order to avoid having to one day become a father who needs forgiveness, or become a mother who needs forgiveness, we have to properly raise our children. We have to properly raise our children so we avoid the same mistakes our fathers made, our mothers made. If we want somebody who has grew up in a broken home, somebody who grew up in the foster care system, somebody who grew up with parents who were drug addicts. One of the biggest gifts your parents can give you is that you know what the wrong thing is. You know, you don't have to learn the hard way. Some people, they got to go out and get high and realize through getting high that drugs are bad. Some people got to go out and go try to be a criminal and learn through going to prison that the criminal lifestyle is not the right lifestyle living. But if you grew up in a house where you only had your mother, if you grew up in a house where your parents were drug addicts, if you grew up with abusive parents, you know what happens when people live that type of life. You know that you hate your parents. You know that your parents are in and out of jail. You know that you want to take a vengeance against your parents for the things that they did against you. So you in the future, instead of once again completing a cycle, should learn from that lesson and don't provoke your children to wrath. Don't live a lifestyle of sin and self-destruction, and ultimately destruction on your children, that will make them hate you the same way you hate your parents. And unfortunately, some people don't learn from the examples of their parents. Many people who grew up, many people who are single parents and don't raise their kid with the mother or the father of their child, they grew up the same way. They grew up the same way, and instead of learning from their parents' mistakes and learning to forgive their spouse, in order to not be a hoe, not having sex with whores, to take your time with the person that you decide to lay down with, you decide to have children with. Instead of taking from those examples and those lessons from their parents, they make the same exact mistakes, do the same exact things their parents did, and their children will hate them the same exact way. If we want to end this thing, we have to forgive one another, but we also have to live a life where nobody has to ever forgive us because we never did anything wrong. And if we don't do that, we will continue to have this cycle unless we decide to forgive and become new people who are blameless, don't need to be forgiven because they do the right thing, and they treat their parents, they treat their children the way that they should be treated according to the Most High. And with that, I'm gonna pass it over to Priest and Officer Kaladzan.
This is the I.S.U.P.K security announcements. We are the I.S.U.P.K started out on 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. And after this 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. You can read about it in Numbers chapter 18, verse 21, or Malachi chapter 3, verses 8 to 10. It means 10 in the Hebrew, ma'ashra. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the teacher. Priest fund. Free will offering for the priest, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations. We got the Passover. And it's in April 1st in Raleigh, North Carolina. Make sure you get your transportation. If you haven't gotten your transportation, please contact the camp leader or a brother or sister. We want to see you guys out there. All right. And remind all Akim and Akbars to check the bulletin board in the hallway. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, blue shirt, pant, headband, and scarf. With that being said, I'm Madri. Brothers, gonna do one courtesy salute. Ahmad Shabbat. Ahmad Barak.
How about Shimmy out Shah Bagathon?
Yajman Tah. Sorry, my face sisters. Brothers, gonna give the sisters one courtesy salute. Ahmad Shabbat. Ahmad Barak.
How Shema Alpha by Shimmy out Shah.
Yajman Tah. Class dismissed.